Dear Dhamma friends, we are going to start the second Dhamma sermon. May you give your consent by saying Sadhu Sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Manyamano bhikkave baddho marassa amanyamano mutto papimato titi. Dear friends in Dhamma, so yesterday we discussed few interesting phenomena. That is how we are very much like trapped in the identification. So how from the beginning of our childhood we are introduced to a world filled with individuals and filled with various things, objects. So that is why we are slowly in a way developing the Sakkaya Ditthi. Actually the Sakkaya Ditthi is fairly reinforced by that typical way of thinking, typical way of conventional approach, and all that actually further enforce the Sakkaya Ditthi, as we already discussed. So we strongly now have maybe a self-view, maybe I am someone important. And again, it is not that I am trying to say that you are not important and you are just you need to be a commoner. That is also not the point. But very much like we understood, like from the beginning, the world, the common way of thinking, the traditional way of thinking, the conventional way of thinking. So further and further kind of proved us that I am an individual. And to that world now I am born and I am so and so. I have a unique name. I have an identity card. I have a passport. I have my social security number or whatever that uniquely recognizing you in the society. So all that helps you to further emphasize that you are an individual. So based on that referencing, now I am operating. We are operating. I am so and so. Now with respect to that, now I am operating. So I am here, I am preaching and you all are listening, hearing in the present moment. Similarly, say you are a father and you assume that you are a father and you have a wife and you have children. I am the father. I am the husband. Or you are a mother and you have a husband and you have children. Okay, I am the mother. So every time this referencing, self-referencing or I-based, I-centered referencing is what we are used to. And this is how we are talking, this is how we are thinking, all that is there. Now, therefore, we can see the language also play a kind of a pivotal role here. So we have built a kind of a language and we are using that to communicate. And that language also very much like self-centered. I, you and he. So I am the kind of the center. So in order to refer, so I am based on this I-centered thinking. So I am referring the others. So I am here, you are there. Maybe someone else is outside. So this is how the language is very much like grammatically structured. Every language, either Sinhala, either English, whatever. So this referencing is very much like based on that. And whenever we want to communicate with another person, so I am simply referring, okay, I had my lunch. I went to this school. And currently I am talking. So every time now we have the referencing with respect to the past, to the present, and to the future. I am going to Sri Lanka. I am returning back to Sri Lanka. So likewise, so now I have the past tense, present tense, future tense. So the existence of the person is further fairly highlighted, fairly proved like. So I had a past, so I existed past. Currently also I am existing. Future also I am going to exist. So this I is fairly further emphasized. And even in the meditation, now say when you are meditating, Say you have your spot and probably you want to use that every day. Say if someone has already occupied that place, who has taken my spot? Who has taken my place? So that also maybe can happen because you have selected, you came early and this is your most preferred place so that you can probably see the Buddha statue properly, or probably you want to be at the last row. That's more comfortable so that the others are not seeing me. I am nodding. So if someone has already occupied your preferred place, okay, who has taken my place? My place. And so the longing, the desiring, possessing, belonging, all that actually helps to further emphasize this self. And even in the meditation. And now suppose say you are developing a kind of a jhana. And suppose you achieved first jhana. And probably you can compare yourself with the others. Okay, I am one with first jhana. But see the others, they are still struggling. But I am so fortunate, I am so kind of talented. I only was able to achieve first jhana. The others are unable to achieve first jhana. So even there in the meditation, we probably can emphasize this I-centered thinking. And probably you can go to the opposite direction as well. Say you are still a beginner and you hear the others are talking about their success, so their achievements, their experiences, but you are still struggling with keeping your attention on breathing, keeping your attention on the walking, and you feel like miserable, it's not going to work. So I'm kind of a miserable person, it's not going to work. Bhante, can you help me? Now that's also I referencing, that I is there, still others are doing well, but I am unable to do it. So we have this either in the positive way, either in the negative way. So I can make a self. One can make a self. Even when you are successful, you can make a self. Even you are kind of defeated, even if you are unsuccessful, still you can make a self. So language is also, as I mentioned, it's a very strong, area which is helping to prove that there is a self. So this actually further Buddha emphasized in one of the interesting suttas called Samidhi Sutta, where Buddha mentioned like this: Akkeya Sanjino Satta, Akkeyasmin Patittita, Akkeya Apariññāya Yogamayanti Machuno. So he mentioned beings who perceive what can be expressed. So they perceive what can be expressed. And Akkeyasmin Patittita. So they become strongly established in what can be expressed. Now say for example, as we already discussed, say your parents have introduced you to something which is expressible. Okay, this is your book, this is your name, this is your country, this is your meal, or this is your toy. So different objects are there. To each and every object we are giving names. We are pasting labels. Each and every food we are giving different names. So I am trying to learn some names given in Australia to different foods. Quite difficult by the way. Even while in Sri Lanka, I don't know much of the names. I know how to eat only. So people are coming and offering this and that. So we don't ask what it is. I am just eating. Fine. But we all have the ability, kind of a tendency to name uniquely. Okay, what is this? So different tastes are there. Accordingly, we give a different name. And say different brands are there. Accordingly, we give different names. Even a cyclone, now you are giving a name, right? You want to give a name even to a cyclone. So that's the nature, that's the tendency in the society. So they are quite skilled or kind of addicted in giving names. And once they give a name, they strongly attach to it. They hold to it. Someone is saying, have you got any experience with Alfred? So you should know, okay, what is Alfred? So you have to be quite updated, and you have to be every time online, and you should know the proper jargon and what people are using. Then only you can be sensible of what is Alfred. Otherwise, he may ask, the other person might ask, okay, what are you referring? So therefore, people are quite very much enthusiastic, addicted in giving names. And for them, it is a real thing, right? The cyclone is a thing. Alfred is a thing now. And Alfred has done a big damage. So it's a thing now. So every time we are making things, we are solidifying things, we are making objects. And when we are making objects, it's quite easy to attract it to that, or repel from that, hate it, or think about it, imagine about it. And akayasmin patitta, so you are quite established in it, very much like trapped in it. And so Buddha mentioned, akaya apariññāya yogamāyanti macchuno. So they don't know how to be free from it. They don't know the limitations of it. And not fully understanding the limitations, they're not fully understanding what can be expressed. So they are very much like trapped. So the language is also another area helping us to bound to this kind of trap, in a way, bound to this kind of a terminology, bound to this kind of a self-view. And we are even emphasizing it, we are keep on learning it, we are memorizing it, keep on sort of fabricating it, all that are there. Now, there's another area that I like to pay your attention. Now, what are the deep sources, how this I-making, mind-making is coming to be? So here Buddha analyzes it quite deeply, and before going to the details of that, so he mentioned a very beautiful sutta, or rather a very beautiful story. It's a quite old story, probably you might have heard. There was a war between Sura and Asura, the Devas and the Asuras. Have you heard? So you might think that the wars are only in the human realm, but you can see it's even in the heavenly realms. So they are having some wars. Don't know whether they are using missiles or this and that, but kind of a war was there between the Sura and the Asura. Who is the king of the Sura? It's Sakka, the god Sakka, Sakra Devendra. So god Sakka is the king of the Devas, and Vepachitti is the ruler of the Asuras, the king of the Asuras. Now they had a kind of a internal discussion. So Devas are telling, okay, in case we win the battle, we'll capture King Vepachitti and take him to the Sudhamma, this gathering place, as a prisoner. The same thing being discussed among the Asuras. They were telling, okay, in case we win the battle, so we'll capture King Sakka and we'll capture him to the Asura realm, Asura world. By the way, who won the battle? Sura. So the Devas actually won the battle. And once they won the battle, so they captured King Vepachitti, the king of the Asuras, and he being taken to the assembly hall of the Devas. It's called Sudhamma. Sudhamma is the assembly hall of the Devas in Pavatinsa. Probably we'll make a rocket to go there in the future. So, and interestingly, now Buddha is telling how he been captured. Now, probably we might think, okay, he been captured and put into shackles or, handcuffs, or he might have put tied to something. But interestingly, Buddha say a different way of trap, different way of binding. Now, Asura, this Vepachitti, if he thinks these gods are, the devas are quite righteous, Asuras are not righteous. I prefer to stay with the gods. I prefer to stay with the devas. In case he think like that, he'll be free from all the shackles, free from all the bondages, and he will have all the capacity to be with the devas. But he being attacking the devas, he is envious or kind of involved with the devas, he might think the opposite. The opposite way of thinking is, these devas are quite unrighteous, asuras are righteous, I want to be free from the devas and return back to the asura realm. So that should be the way of his thinking. So when he is thinking like that, that means these devas are unrighteous, asuras are righteous, I want to be free from the devas and return to the asuras. When he is thinking like that, what happened to him? He become further tightened. His, the rope, whatever the way of his bounds, his bondages become more and more tightened. He is unable to escape. So Buddha is saying, so this Vepachitti's bondage is quite subtle in a way. It is not that he being bound to handcuffs or any kind of a rod or pole or something like that. Rather, his bondage is very much depending on the way he is thinking, isn't it? The way he is thinking determines whether he is going to be free or whether further he is going to be tightened, trapped, captured. His thought is the determining factor in a way. Now, Buddha is further mentioning, so even subtle is the Mara's trap. The evil one. The Mara's trap is even subtle. Who is trapped by that? We all. So we all are bound by the Mara's trap, but it is even subtle than the Vepachitti's bondage. Now Buddha is explaining that Manyamano bhikkave baddho marassa amanyamano mutto papamatu. Whenever we are conceiving, whenever we are thinking based on I-centered thinking, Manyamano bhikkave baddho marassa. You being trapped, you are a victim of the Mara. Amanyamano mutto papamatu. But if you are able to completely avoid that kind of thinking, I-centered thinking, completely free from I-centered thinking, then you are free. Simple as that. Now the question is, how this I-making, mind-making happens? This is what Buddha explains deeply in this Yavakalapi Sutta, in the connected discourses. So 5 methods actually he mentioned. So how this I-making happens, how the manjana is happening, how the conceiving happens, due to various subtle reasons, quite psychological actually. The first one is actually our mind's capacity to imagine. You can imagine something which might not be real, but you can imagine. So this mind has the capacity to imagination. Say for example, you can imagine about World War III. If you imagine too much about it, what's going to happen? You might end up with anxiety and all that, because our mind has the capacity to imagine. It is not happen. People are predicting and people are, frightening. You can imagine it. So imagination is one, in a way, kind of interesting capacity the human mind has. All the beings have that capacity to imagine. But unfortunately, imagination causes I-making. Imagination causes mind-making. So imagining, so that's called manjana. So you imagine that there is a self here. You imagine there is a person here. There is an individual here. There is I here. So it's a kind of an imagination. It's not real. It's a kind of imagination. Imagining that there is a person here, now you can think, you can talk, you can refer. Asmiti bhikkave, now Buddha explained Manyita Meta. So I am is a conceiving. Then ayang ahang asmiti Manyita Meta. I am this is a conceiving. Now say for example, as we discussed yesterday, say when you go in front of a mirror, you can see an image, but your imagination is already kind of conditioned to the mind, saying that there is a person here, I am here. So what you see is you, immediate recognition, direct recognition, direct identification. See, I am here. Or else you can refer like this, okay, this is I am. This is my photo. This is my wedding photo. This is my, say, graduation photo, whatever. So referring something in front of you and referring it is me, it is myself. Another way of telling. Either directly telling this is I am, or another way of telling this refers to me. Or else you can say, I am going to be like this. I am going to be the winner. I am going to be more successful. Or else you can go for the negation, telling, I am not going to be successful. I am not going to go there. I have cancelled that. Bhavissanti manyata meta. Na bhavissanti manyata meta. I couldn't go there. So that's also still based on the imagination. Still you can refer a person, myself, I, and you can talk, you can think. And like that, many different ways you can use the language to refer different occasions, different situations. And all that, Buddha say, is a kind of a conceiving, I-centered thinking, but that has come from a kind of an imagination that you imagine there is a person here. That is one way of thinking, one way of I-making, mind-making. Now, Buddha anyway says, Manyitam bhikkave rogo. Monks, this I-making, this conceiving is a disease, by the way. It's not something good. It is a kind of a disease. Manyitam gando, it's a kind of a ulcer, kind of a tumor. Manyitam rogo, manyitam gando, manyitam sallam. It's a kind of a dart. So, at the moment we can't see the depth of it, we can't see the error in it, but we simply imagine in it, and that's how we are thinking, we are used to thinking, and it's kind of an habit now. I already imagined that there's a person here. So that is one area that how the I-making can happen, mind-making can happen. And then another one is called the injita. That is actually coming from tanha, the craving. So whenever we have craving, the tanha operating, so tanha is also causing this I-making, mind-making. That's another area. Kind of psychologically we are attached to this and that. So when something beautiful is there, I am attracted to that. And when something beautiful is there, I am easily attracted to that. I want to have that. And I have certain attachments in that sense. Now say for example, you are in a very quiet or maybe little calm state, and now you are supposed to meet your son. So you are going to the college, you are going to the uni to meet your son. And there's an appointment. And while you are waiting, so you are expecting your son to come and meet you. But you waited, say 1 hour, he didn't come. So what is happening to you now? So slowly you become anxious and you are expecting and you are looking the time and you are, asking from someone and where is he and why he is not appearing. So that the attachment is now a little boiling yourself. And once your son appears, where are you? Where have you gone? So that I is now immediately popping up like, here's my son. Say someone is helping you and trying to find, and then immediately he show up. You see, here is my son. So you are somewhat elated and saying, jumping and saying, this is my son. So that tanha, that eager, that attachment is kind of boosting the ego, boosting the self, and that's why we want to acquire what we like, because there is an I, strong I, in order to boost further, and I am acquiring whatever I like. So I like some different things, different objects, different people, and I like to keep them closer to me so that I feel safe. So I being protected, I feel kind of somewhat safe while I am there. So this injita is another way of telling that eye making can happen based on the craving. And it's another way is that, that Vedana causes tanha, right? Vedana paccaya tanha. So whenever you feel happy, that you are very much like inclined to acquire it, like to attach to it, wanting it, desiring it, because the feeling is much beautiful, feeling is more pleasant, feeling is more pleasurable. And more, therefore, you are attracted to this and that. Now, say, for example, what happened? Now, some desirable sights are there. So, you are attracted to that. Some desirable sounds are there. You are attracted to that. Maybe desirable smells are there. You are attracted to that. Desirable tastes are there. You are attracted to that. Desirable tangibles are there. You are attracted to that. So constantly you are being pulled by all these different things. Sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles. Sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles. Every time pulled to this and that, I want it, I want that, I want it, I want a sight, I want a sound. So the I want is coming because the tanha, craving, is very much like doing a kind of manipulative job in making a self. I want it. So tanha is also another cause to make an I. So therefore Buddha mentioned here, asmiti bhikkhave injita meta. So this I has happened, this I am has happened based on this kind of a internal agitation. Happen underneath is the craving. Craving is the one agitating the mind, making you feel uncomfortable till you acquire it. I want it. Till that time, I feel difficult. I feel not calm. I want it. Say, for example, when you are in love with someone, so you feel quite burdened, like you feel that I want him. I want to be with him. I want to be with her. Now, say you are going to meet him. You can go back to that age if you are old and how you were eagerly waiting to meet him, how you were eagerly waiting to meet her, and you are waiting, say you are at a bus stop and you are expecting that he may appear in the coming bus. No, he didn't come. And now you are eagerly waiting till the next bus comes. Still no, not yet. Now the third bus coming, he's there. Okay, she's there. So like that you're quite happy, and now till that you are restless, that you want, that desire is making your mind quite agitated. So it's agitation causing a self. So you feel uncomfortable. I am there. So you feel stronger I during this agitated state. Not in the calm state, but agitated state is more very rich area for mind making. That's why even the frightening. So when you are frightened, so you immediately feel I. So what's going to happen to me? Right? Say you are not traveling. Say you are returning by an airplane. All of a sudden you end up with, say you face low pressure area. All of a sudden, boom, the plane go a little down. My goodness, my God. So you are frightened. So I is there now. So previously you were just watching the movie and it's like very calm, relaxed. But all of a sudden you feel frightened and you start screaming because I is there now. I has come out. So therefore craving, tanha, is another area for this causing this I. And then further Buddha mentioned pandita. Pandita is kind of a palpitation where mind is in a restless state. So there also Buddha explained why this restlessness happen. Have you ever thought why the restlessness happen? One area of restlessness, one reason, causes for restlessness is that assume that we are attached to something, we are holding on to something, and we think it is a stable thing. Now we all understand, okay, this place is a stable thing, right? So this place, not shaking and quite stable and everything fine. What happened if earthquake happened? Can you say this is stable then? Now, have you ever experienced an earthquake? So you can understand, okay, how things are trembling, right? So when things, what you imagine as stable, now become quite unstable. Say while you are driving home, say all of a sudden your orientation become completely unstable. So the earth start moving, earth start trembling. So what happened to you? You feel frightened. You feel disoriented. And then you feel restless. So the mind becomes restless. The point is that you are attached to something really unstable, thinking it is stable. So anything which you can say 100% stable, can we attach to something which is 100% stable, completely stable to the maximum? Now we can simply say, okay, I'm well grounded here, and I can say, okay, this is quite stable. It's not moving, it's not shaking. But who knows? That is what happened in Myanmar recently. So they didn't know. They were maybe worshipping, they were praying, or they were walking, driving, whatever. They didn't expect that kind of a magnitude of an earthquake, isn't it? So whatever we attach is inherently not stable, by the way. It's quite unstable, but ignorantly we attach to all these unstable things. And we are holding them, we are attached to them, we are grasping them, which is inherently unstable. And when they are changing, then we feel trembled, we feel restless. My goodness, to what I am attached to, I am not feeling safe. Now the I is coming up. Previously I was thinking, I was imagining, assuming it is a stable thing, but my goodness, it's not stable. Say you have an affair, a relationship with someone, and you think, okay, she only loves me. And all of a sudden you found, okay, my goodness, she is loving another person. Then you feel really restless, isn't it? How can he is doing like this? Because you think, okay, it's a stable relationship. She may be completely honest and faithful. Opposite also you can think. But unfortunately the relationship breaks. She ran with someone else, or he ran with someone else. So we were thinking it's a stable relationship. It's not going to change. It's a permanent love, eternal love. Even it's applied to the relationship. So can we imagine anything like stable? Nothing stable in that sense. So what we are attached to are quite unstable, uncertain things. Ignorantly we attach, ignorantly we hold, expecting kind of a safety. But inherently they are unstable, and now the mind becomes restless. So this restlessness causing I to come up. Whenever you attach that imagines stable status become little trembled, then I is coming up. What happened to me? I am going to be miserable. I am going to be, say, unsafe. I am going to die. So the I is now popping up. I is coming out. So this, what you call this palpitation, pandita, is another area Buddha explained. Asmiti bhikkhave pandita meta. Ayang ahang asmiti pandita meta. Rupi bhavissanti pandita meta. Arupi bhavissanti pandita meta. So likewise, so the pandita, this palpitation, is another way of I making to happen. So whenever things become restless, mind become restless, you're supposed to make a self. You feel unsafe and you make a self. I is coming out. Now, that is also something that you can understand even in meditation. Say you want to keep your attention on breath, and breath is changing, but you want to hold on to something. And today also we had a question, right? So you want to hold on to something which has to be stable, which has to be something available, solid, but unfortunately it's disappeared. Oh, where am I going to sit? Where am I going to keep my attention? My footing was taken out. So even in meditation, so the meditation object, we expect it to be a permanent, lasting thing, but unexpectedly it has disappeared. Then you might lose your orientation and you feel frightened. Frightening is possible. And even in Vipassana, you expected this body to be a permanent one, this body to be mine, and it is solid. But say through your proper attuned mind, now you can see the disintegration. Things are falling apart. And then you feel restless, you feel frightened. It's also possible. And now even when you want to almost like about to attain a jhana, you come almost to the edge. And again you can become restless because things are become little blurry like. So you can't find out the real kind of stay here or stay there. So you are very much in the transition. Again you feel frightened. Again now the I is popping up. Previously you were doing smoothly. You were staying with the breath and breath is in, breath out, rising, falling. So you are somewhat safe, somewhat smooth. So during a transition period, again you feel frightened. Again I is popping up. Even in meditation. And even in deep meditation, now say in Vipassana, say as I mentioned, say your body is almost like disappeared. Now you have nothing to hold physically. Still you can be frightened. And maybe you are now looking at your mind. So it has some fluctuations, some kind of thoughts. Still you feel safe because something's there. No? But now say a scenario like thoughts are coming and going. Then there is no thought. You might even feel frightened because no thoughts. What's going to happen to me? Because thinking is something helping to make a self, but when thinking stops, where are you? You can even be frightened. So likewise, even in meditation, different situations can happen and you feel a bit frightened, and that aroused the I, immediately kind of a sense of I. It boosted the I. Another area is an interesting one called proliferation, papancha. Now our mind has the kind of a capacity to kind of spread out. You know, when a certain image happening to your mind, so you can spread out in many directions, not in an orderly manner, but in kind of a disordered, unorganized manner, mind jumps to various directions, many directions, in unorderly, spreading out. Say an image appear in your mind while you are in meditation. So your breath almost like disappeared, and a kind of a frightening image appears in your mind. Now probably you are tempted to think about the past. So why this frightening image has come? So you are thinking with respect to the past, thinking. And maybe you can relate it to a present moment. Oh my goodness, there was someone in front of me. Probably he is influencing my meditation. He's inserting thoughts, right? In certain mental sicknesses are there. The people are thinking like that. Okay, he's inserting certain thoughts. I didn't expect this kind of a thing. So you can imagine, you can proliferate in that sense. Or you can even extend it to the future. Futuristic way you can think. Or there may be sounds, and now you can think in that direction. You can go with imaginations. You can deal with assumptions. So many different random ways. Now the mind is thinking this way, that way, past, future, again, present, past, future. Many different ways. Complete proliferation. You might have heard about it. Now, whenever you see something, so we are not simply stopping at merely seeing. So we are recognizing something what I saw. You made a thing and then recognizing it, as we already used to. We discussed how it is happening from yesterday. So you see something. I see my car. So you recognize it. And suppose that it was scratched. Someone has scratched that. Now you see, you recognize it is my car. Now you are tempted to think, who cracked my car? Who scratched my car? Why the hell he has done that? Something like that. In many different directions, now you are thinking based on what you see. And probably you are the one actually starting that thinking based on your sense impingement. But ultimately there could be a situation you can't even stop thinking. Now that is the area what we call the conceptual proliferation. Yeah, you are conceptualizing, you are imagining, and all that is now into the picture, and you can't stop thinking now. You are very much like a victim of the thinking. So therefore, typically there are 3 stages explained in this scenario, as explained in detail in the Madhupindika Sutta. So the very first stages, Chakkunja Paticca Rupeja Upajja Chakkuvinjnanam Tingalam Sangati Passo Rasapacca Vedana. So these stages are very much like instantaneous as well as more causal. But later, now you as a person intervene to the process. Yang vedeti tang sanjanati, yang sanjanati tang vitakketi, yang vitakketi tang papancheti. So you intervene as a person that has a lot of your own habits, your own tendencies, your upbringing, your education, your imagination, your addictions. All these different things are now slowly influencing the thinking, and now you think in many different directions. Now you are very much like starting the thinking machine. Thinking. You are thinking now. But the last stage is the most interesting part. Yam papancheti tato nidanam vikku purisam papancha sanya sanka samudacharati. Atitanagata pachuppannesu chakkuvinjyesu rupesu. Now, once that machine started, that is carrying you even. Now you can't, you are a kind of passenger now. You are not the driver now. So, driver is the mind. The completely proliferating, defiled mind is the driver, and you are a helpless victim, helpless passenger like. Wherever it is driving you, you are simply like, my goodness, I can't stop thinking. So the proliferation is therefore another area. Buddha say, this proliferative tendency, this prolific tendency is available in everyone's mind, and we prefer that, we like it. We like to go into the fantasies, fabrications, creations, all our imaginations. So these are a lot of thinking, isn't it? So why people want to make science fictions? Why want to people imagine about various, say, wars and Star Wars, Waterworld, different things are there. So all our imaginations, all our fabrications, fictions, but we like to see it, we like to enjoy, we like to. Now even the virtual realities are there, right? So virtual reality. So you rather than being at least in the known thing, you want to go to a virtual reality. So we are addicted to that kind of thinking. We don't want to be grounded. We want to be kind of disoriented. So we want to imagine things, we want to fabricate things, and we want to live in that dream. We are fond of dreaming, fantasizing. So that's a tendency in our mind. So that tendency is also making the self. That's another psychological area Buddha is pointing out. This I-making happens, mind-making happens because of this prolific tendency available in the mind. Asmiti bhikkave papanchita meta. Ayang ahang asmiti papanchita meta. Bhavissanti papanchita meta. Na bhavissanti papanchita meta. Rupi bhavissanti papanchita meta. So likewise Buddha explained. So I am is a result of papancha, prolific tendency. This I am is a result of prolific tendency, papancha. So you can see how we are trapped in this psychologically, how our minds are very much like operating based on these kind of tendencies. These are quite very subtle. It's not an easy task that we need to untangle. So these tendencies are what we were very much like strengthening from our childhood. And we like to imagine, we like to be restless, and we want this and that. I am going after different cravings, desires, and also now I like to engage with thinking, engage with proliferation, engage with obsessions, dreaming, fantasizing. This is what I am enjoying, isn't it? So that's why Buddha mentioned that in Dhammapada there's a beautiful verse with respect to papancha. Papanchabhirata bhaja, nipapancha tathagata. You know this folk, either gods or humans, whoever, all these beings, they are very much like addicted to the proliferation, addicted to obsessive thinking, overthinking. But nipapancha tathagata, tathagatas, the arahants, are free from proliferation. So you can imagine what is the kind of direction that we need to move forward. It is not that we are here to promote proliferation and end up suffering, but we need to understand the danger in proliferation. Obsessive thinking, overthinking, we need to understand the trap in it. And in a way, we have to have a lot of self-compassion. So, okay, I now understand the depth, I can understand the danger, but still I can't stop it. Still I am thinking. So we have to have, in a way, kind of self-compassion also. Because we need to, in a way, understand the depth of the problem. This is what I am trying to explain. It's quite psychological. And our minds are very much like programmed like this. So they're kind of a wrongly programmed machine. Very buggy. We need to debug the program now. So we are running a buggy program. So it has these wrong tendencies, very much like inculcated in it. And the fifth way of I-making, mind-making is called the managata, based on the conceit. Now, when we are coming with that wrong understanding, that's a self here, I am here, then always mind is tend to compare. I am here, you are there. Am I good? Am I better? Or am I worse than you? Right? Whenever there is an individual here, so the other tendency is to compare that individual with the other individuals. I am a person, I am an individual here. With respect to me, how others are doing. What is the status of others? So making an individual inherently or naturally prepare a mindset to compare, to measure. And again, you acquire some things, and how about your thing compared to someone else's thing? You bought a car. How beautiful is your car with someone else's car? You have your own car. How new is it compared to someone else's car? Because you have an object, you have something. So you look at the world from that angle. So whenever these things are there, whenever these individuals are there, the inherent tendency is to compare. This comparison, measuring, also another way for I-making, mind-making. Asmiti bhikkave managatametang, ayang ahang asmiti managatametang, bhavissanti managatametang, na bhavissanti managatametang. So likewise, Buddha explained, so this I-making happens because as a result of this measurement, as a result of this competitiveness nature in the mind. Because we already accepted there is an individual, I am an individual. So with respect to this individual, what is the status of another individual? This individual has something, and that something is compared with someone else's things, objects. So these are the areas, quite in a way, very subtle way, Buddha explained in this Yavakalapi Sutta, and which all are causing very subtle I-making, mind-making. Based on that, we are initiating the process, thinking process, I-making process, mind-making thought process, and then we are further and further weaving thoughts, and then get trapped in the thoughts. And there could be even kind of in-between influences coming from different patterns. Now, say for example, you feel frightened, and so the I-making happens. What's going to me? What's going to happen? Who is going to help me? So the restlessness may be the initial causation of this I-making, but later it can influence by the papancha. So now many different directions you may be thinking, this way, that way, this way. So that dynamic spreading out nature is further now, aggravating the situation. And imaginations further aggravating the situation. So these things are, interacting, fully confusing now. So Buddha, you can see the very subtle, wise nature of the Buddha, intellectual capacity of the Buddha. He sees this very subtle tendencies in our mind. He's now trying to explain. So you see, these are the tendencies operating in our mind. If not, we can't even understand. We can't imagine, because we all are trapped in that kind of result. So Buddha very cleverly explained, okay, you got to see in your mind how these tendencies are operating. Now his advice is quite, in a way, going opposite to these tendencies. That means how to overcome these tendencies. So whatever vipassana, whatever samatha, whatever the practices we do has to clearly answer or clearly counteract with these tendencies. So we can't say only the samatha would work, we can't say only the vipassana would work. So we need a fairly systematic approach to overcome all these different tendencies. So the full systematic approach is required. So that's why Buddha is saying, okay, at least Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Certain behavioral aspects are required, meditative aspects are required, proper wisdom-based aspects are required. So it's so difficult in a way, very subtle. So we can't simply say only one area would be enough. So we need a very careful, multifaceted approach to overcome these problems. So the problem is quite subtle, fairly inherent, like already trapped, already inculcated. So it has to be carefully overcome. So in one sense, we have to have a proper foundation in the Sila, so that you are not promoting any unnecessary, say, arguments, attachments, further aggravating situations, so that at least we are, maintaining some healthy, virtuous inner self, rather than aggravating the thing. And then we need to further reduce certain very gross defilements operating in the mind, what we call the hindrances, at least temporary, and recognize kind of a calm state, tranquil state, not allowing the mind to become agitated, at least temporary calming down the mind, tranquilizing the mind, not allowing I making, my making to happen in a more abrupt way, but rather in a more maintaining kind of a calm state, allowing us to realize the peace of it. But that is also not the final goal. So ultimately we have to abandon all these wrong tendencies. That is where the Vipassana comes to the picture. And as an advice, basically, Buddha again and again mentioned, so with respect to this Manjana, he says, Manyitam bhikkave rogo. So this imagination is a disease. Manyitam gando, imagination is a tumor. Manyitam salla, imagination is a dart. So monks, amanyamanena cetasa viharissamati evam hivo bhikkave sikkitappa. So you should train yourself to minimize imaginations, not to make imaginations and not to make a self out of imaginations. And next, with respect to the agitation, the injita. Injitam bhikkave rogo. So this agitated state of mind is a kind of a disease. Injitang gando is a kind of a tumor. Injitang sallam. This agitation is a kind of a dart. Therefore, Buddha recommend aninjamanena cetasa viharissamati evam hivo bhikkave sikkitappa. So you have to determine, okay, I am keeping my mind as much as possible unagitated. Then pandita. Panditam bhikkave rogo. This palpitation, this restless nature of the mind is a kind of a disease. And it's a kind of a tumor. It's a kind of a dart. So the advice is, therefore, apandhamanena cetasa viharamati bhikkave evam hivo bhikkave sikkitappa. So you have to keep the mind tranquil, not restless. Keep it tranquil, calm, relaxed. Then the I-making, mind-making become less and less. Then the papancha. Papanchitam bhikkave rogo. Monks, this conceptual proliferation is a disease. Papanchitang gando. Conceptual proliferation is a tumor. Papanchitang sallang, it's a dart. Tasmatiha bhikkave nipapancharamena cetasa viharissamati evam hivo bhikkave sikkitappa. So monks, you should determine to keep your mind free from obsessive thinking, free from conceptual proliferation. Delight in silence, in a way, inner silence. Not in proliferation, but have a target, how to silence yourself. Not to think too much, to stop thinking. Enjoy in the inner silence. So that's the direction. And then the last, conceit. Managatam bhikkave rogo. Monks, this conceited way of thinking is a disease. Managatang gando. Conceit is a tumor. Managatang sallang. It's a dart. Tasmatiha bhikkave nihatamanena cetasa viharissa mati evam hivo bhikkave sikkitabba. So you should determine, monks, I am living with free from conceit. So it's a very interesting way how Buddha has seen the dart, has seen the disease more psychologically, and asking us to restrain in an opposite way. So therefore, the Buddha's teaching is, in a way, we can say, aiming to abandon all these different tendencies through the practice of virtue, practice of sila, through the practice of meditation, practice of the samadhi, and through the practice of vipassana, developing the wisdom. So that full comprehensive path is required to overcome all these tendencies, and we'll look into those different strategies Buddha is talking in brief in the coming few days. And with that note, I'll conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening. Okay, today also we have spent a fair amount of time practicing to the best of our ability and participated in the Dhamma discussion and listened to the Dhamma sermon. And all the merits what we have accumulated, we will share with all the celestial beings and all past relatives and whoever in need of merits. And we wish these merits help us also to understand the Buddha's teaching and practice it to the best of our ability and to be free from suffering. And we'll recite the traditional verses.